ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jimmy from ERT's Arts. Tonight's guest, or this afternoon's guest, is going to be Steven from Asami Comics, and he's going to be talking about his book. And Steven, how you doing this afternoon?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing very well. Thank you for asking. It's been a rather chilly weekend for us over here in the Carolinas, but other than that, pretty good.
Okay,
How
yeah,
about you?
it's
Yeah,
yeah, it's cool. It's starting to cool down. It's actually feels good over here in Bakersfield, California. It's usually really like our summers are really hot over here, so it feels good to have some cooler weather for a change.
yeah. No, it's not feeling too good for me over here, but I'm gonna live through it, man. I'm gonna live
Uh-huh.
through it. It's all
Yeah,
good.
it's better
So,
than I was gonna say it's better. It's just better than 110-degree, heat.
yeah, it depends on the heat, I guess. But yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not arguing that one there either. So, let's go ahead and jump right in.
Yeah.
So your book is called Asami, Children of Rusu. I'm hoping I'm
Yes.
pronouncing all that right.
Yeah, that's correct.
And it's a well. Let me go ahead and explain it to us, please. I don't want to make any presumptions and start putting my own twist on it.
Okay, yeah. I'll just start with this little pitch here, and that kind of it gets my mind rolling on, where to go from there. But basically, just give you a clean pitch, it's a civil war in feudal Japan that pits the Rusu clan, who has been chosen by a mysterious deity, against neighboring clans in the shogunate. Asami leaves Rusu at her father's request, accompanied by the foreigner John Moses, and a mysterious holy weapon to unite the warring clans against Rusu and the disruptor worshipped as a god. So I guess just at its simplest form, the comic is set in feudal Japan. It's samurais. There's an American cowboy named John Moses, and a kind of a ancient astronaut, ancient aliens type deal going on, where we have this disruptor who's causing all this ruckus in the Tohoku region in feudal Japan, and has chosen the Rusu clan, which is a small clan in the Tohoku region, and starting trouble with neighboring clans, both allies and enemies, and just I guess getting just a massive civil war going on in that region. And so Asami, in this first issue and those first pages, Asami's fighting one of the neighboring clans, um, and after that, she's gonna go back home, and we're gonna get to meet the daimyo of the Rusu clan and a couple other people, as well as the deity. From there, she'll there'll be some issues going on, and that's kind of where the story really starts. Is when the Rusu clan kind of wages war on the uh, Date clan, which is a bigger clan in that region, and Rusu is a vassal of the Date clan. So that's where the story really kicks off, and you get to meet John Moses, which I'm really excited about. And I just released the kind of like a character reveal on Twitter a couple days ago, which is pretty fun. He's been well received. A lot of people like him. A lot of people like the cowboy element
Right.
inside feudal Japan. So I thought it was a cool idea, and looks like other people are getting excited by it. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean that's always a good twist to have a cowboy in feudal Japan, seeing as how the empire was not really kind to strangers in their
Hmm.
land.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's another thing. We'd been doing some research, and we are history. Like I should, when I say we, me and my cousin Gabriel Rosales, he's helping me co-write this, and we've done doing our research, and we're bending history at our leisure, and we'll have we'll probably have a disclaimer in the beginning, but it's just it's a historical fiction, and but yeah, the Date clan where John Moses is residing was actually I think it was Masamune Date Masamune, who was actually he enjoyed foreigners, and he even embraced Christianity at one point until they outlawed all foreigners in Japan, and started, what is it, removing any form of Christianity from Japan at that time, the persecution of the Christians. But yeah, the Date I guess the Date clan was pretty friendly to foreigners at one time.
That's pretty interesting. These things, you got to take all of this with a grain of salt because when you're
Mhm.
doing comics, it's all about creative expression,
Yeah.
and being able to put your own twist into it is what gives it that fun element. I believe anyway.
Yeah, it's all for the story. What makes it cool, you know? It doesn't have to be 100% historically accurate or I mean, just look at superhero comics. I mean,
Right.
half the stuff really it doesn't, it doesn't make sense at all, but it's cool. So that's what we're going for.
I know, definitely. Looking at your artwork on your site, it looks very appealing. That was one of the
Thank
reasons
you.
why I wanted to try to get you guys on. And we had a lot of scheduling conflicts over the last week or so, and
Oh yeah.
but I definitely wanted to get you on, and I wanted to get you on before you went to store mode. But I mean, being on store mode is not bad. You're in demand right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm still let's see. Yeah, I still got it in demand. I believe that's the store mode or yeah.
Yeah,
So
the store mode.
you can still get the, the perks and get the comic. Excuse me. There's a lot of people who are they were messaging me on Twitter saying, "Hey, are you going to put this in store mode because, I don't have the money now, but I really want to get the comic." And so I was like, "You know what? I'm probably going to just leave it in store mode for a while and I want to add some more stretch goals so that we can all benefit because I know one of the things about the campaign ending is like, people are jumping in and they're spending the money before the campaign ends and you know if I leave it in store mode, it kind of defeats the purpose of trying to jump in before that countdown. But I think if I add some more stretch goals and just keep it consistent, like how I've been doing with the 6,500, 8,000. I think I'm going to put a 10,000 stretch goal. I'm trying to work on something right now for that. But if I do that, then we can all benefit from it, and the people who already got then the backers who already backed it before the campaign ended, they're still going to get upgrades to their book, and so they're actually going to benefit from it being if it stays in store mode and stuff. So I'm probably going to keep it like that for a while and just see what happens. I just keep getting some emails by people just asking about it.
Yeah, that's one of the recurring themes. That people they always they're like, oh no, can you hold it off a little bit longer? And because there's so many books coming out, it's like
Ye-
EVS and SAC opened up a floodgate, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm
Mhm.
not mad at that at all. It's a wonderful thing to see a lot of enthusiastic creators. I don't know if you want to call it jumping on the bandwagon or taking opportunity or
Yeah.
seizing the moment, to get on this wave, and
Hmm.
try to make their dreams a reality. I'm not mad at that at all.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they for sure they opened up the gate and they kind of created a new just a new way to get into this industry and it's on fire right now. So if you're had any plans to make a comic, it's a good time to jump into it now. I mean, I was in the process. I was actually drawing this. I think before this was all going down, I just wanted to make a comic for myself, and then I was like, "Ah, I'm going to print this for myself, and and I was watching these channels. Like I was watching comic artist post secrets. I was watching him ink, and that's kind of how I stumbled on his channel because I was trying to learn how to ink. I just want to get better at inking and stuff. And then I ended up watching Diversity in Comics and stuff. And then I stumbled upon this whole Indiegogo thing, and I'm like, hey, I'm working on this comic, and then and this whole Comicsgate thing, and I just got sucked into it, and I'm a conservative myself, and
Right.
just and just hearing what was going on and stuff like that, I'm like, well, I definitely I wouldn't, I don't mind being a part of being a part of this because it seems like an important movement and just just what's going on is wrong and there shouldn't in my opinion there shouldn't be politics inside comics and if there is any type of politics it should be really like it should be really you would have to look for it in order to find it, you know what I mean? Like you shouldn't just beat people over the head no matter if you're conservative or if you're a liberal. um, you just want to read the comics for fun, and I agree with that totally. And I actually agree with that with movies. That's one of the big reasons why the Comicsgate pulled me in is because I love movies a lot, and I see that in movies, and I hate it. I hate when actors like they start talking politics, and it's just like. man, you really want me not to go see that movie?
Right. No, no,
Uh-huh.
I definitely agree. I've always believed that politics could be in the backdrop. So, a subtle,
Mhm.
subtle character in the plot, like in the backdrop. But
Yeah.
I don't think it should take away from if it's Superman, it shouldn't take away from it being a Superman or a Spider-Man or a Hulk or a Thor or whatever the main character of the book is. That
Yeah.
should be the main character and everything else. And then of course the storyline, and then whatever the political element that's happening should be like a backdrop, because you can't escape politics, no matter how hard you try. But you could definitely give it a shot. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a smart way to do it, and then there's an easy, dumb way to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
And it
like,
seems
if
like they're it seems
yeah,
like they're doing the dumb way now. Like
yeah, exactly. If you want to be smart about it, go ahead and be smart about it, and it'll be interesting. And when people stumble upon it or stumble on it, even if they don't necessarily agree, it's you did it smart, and they're like, "Oh, okay, I kind of see what's going on," and they might respect you for it. But when you're just like hitting people in the face with it like blatantly, it's just like, come on, that's not you're not. It's just this is just propaganda at that point. You're like, you don't. You're ruining people's favorite characters just with propaganda, and it's ugly.
yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So you say you're a conservative and you're from California. How does that work for you?
Well, I live in Bakersfield, California, that's in Kern County. And Kern County is one of the most conservative counties in California. So I kind of live in like a little conservative. I don't know. It's like a
Bubble?
little, yeah. It's a bubble in California. Most people here are conservative, but I got a lot of liberal friends, and I know a lot of people who have different opinions, and we can talk about things, and we can find common ground and understand each other and stuff like that. I don't mind. I'm not
Right.
like I'm not like so far into it where like I won't have any friends that are think opposite of me, but yeah, that's just what it's about. It's okay to be different and for people to
Oh,
have different opinions and stuff like that. And in California, there's a lot of you'll see like in LA and stuff like that. There's a lot of people who are lean on the left, and here in Kern County, there's a lot of people who lean on the right, and you can get along with everybody. But yeah, California in general is kind of a joke. Just the laws, it's pretty bad, but yeah, I still like it. It's a beautiful place, and we got the beaches, and we got some really cool cities, and it's really uh, diverse geography. So, I like it a lot.
yeah. No, it was just an interesting question because
Mhm.
California always seems to be the forefront of liberal or left leaning ideology and politics.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, probably New York too, but mostly California because I'm not gonna say because it's California. I'm gonna say because Hollywood is there and their leaders are there, and
Yeah.
they tend to have the loudest vocal presence.
Hmm.
So
Definitely.
so when you think about, so it leads me to associate the two. Like I might just be stereotyping. California might not be all liberal,
No.
completely left leaning crazy, you
Yeah. No.
know.
It's. I mean, it is like in when you get into the politics and like you know the big politics of California. Yeah, for sure. But there's a lot of like in Central California, there's a lot of conservative. Um, like like I said, Kern County is like a super conservative. But
Right.
so it's still diverse. But in general, yeah, it's left leaning, and it's kind of like gone beyond left. It's really I don't even know if I mean I don't even know if a lot of like liberals agree with some of the things that are going on. Like we get like a gas tax without being able to vote on it,
Wow.
and we're actually going to vote on that uh vote on that soon to repeal it, hopefully. But yeah, they just applied a gas tax and a registration fees for your cars, without a vote. So it's like I don't remember the increase, but it's a pretty big increase. And then the way they do it, they did it pretty sneakily by doing it during the uh, when we were going from the summer blend to the winter
Mhm.
blend of gasoline, so that you don't notice the increase in gas price. But I don't know, it's pretty sneaky. But whatever, that's California.
Yeah. That's definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. But I got off into a tangent.
Yeah.
Let me do you are you on a system where you can screen share your site, or do you want me to go ahead and screen share the Indiegogo so we can go over it?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and screen share the Indiegogo? That's fine.
All right. I'm gonna put it on me. Hopefully, let me see. We're scrolled up all the way. All right. So I'm gonna go slow because there's always like a little lag on the other side. But as far as uh as far as we're concerned, we're gonna get pretty much real time. So I always like to go. Let's go over the art first. Let me see if that's yeah.
Hmm.
So you've been on other shows and and whatnot. So you know the deal. We just kind of go over the art a little bit. And I looked at your artwork and I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
Thank you.
Um, so I was like, yeah, I think this book is it's gonna be an interesting one. And
Hmm.
I'm an older guy, so I grew up watching samurai and ninja movies and kung
Hmm.
fu flicks. In the late 70s and early 80s.
Oh yeah.
So so I was like, okay, I can get behind this. Now that you're adding a cowboy, it's gonna be interesting,
Yeah.
because the clash of cultures is it's gonna be pretty nice.
Yeah. There's a lot of I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like the right thing to do to have that American cowboy. I don't know. That's just something I thought about when I was in high school, and
Right.
um, and I think I drew him up on a piece of paper. I was like, oh yeah, this is my idea right here, and that was actually me and my cousin. We used to draw a lot. My cousin Gabe, who's actually co-writing this with me, and we would create, make characters for a comic book or something that we were gonna make that we never made, and that was one of the characters that I had drew up, and I knew when I was doing this, like this is something that's been in the process, kind of like off and on since 2013. We started setting up the story, and then I drew a couple pages, but I got some more responsibilities. I was getting a house, baby on the way, so I stopped, and then I started again this year with new art and revamped the story a little bit, and here we are now, and I finally got to draw John Moses again, who was the American cowboy. And these pages I've updated them. This is the lettering by Eric Weathers. We have him on board now. Our $6,500 dollar stretch goal was to have him letter the books. So he's on it now, and I love it. Looks really good.
Sorry. So this is the main character, right? The young lady at the bottom right.
Yeah, that's Asami Nishimura. So she's the main character, and I guess right now she is. Yeah, she's this first issue kind of centers around her. Also, her father Kenichi Nishimura, and um, and John Moses. And John Moses won't play a such a crucial role in this first issue, but he is being introduced, and he will have some pages in there. But to start the story off, we have to start with Asami. But if this is if this works out, and then we're able to do the second issue and stuff, I'd like the rest of the stories would definitely be centered around Asami and John Moses, and kind of the contrast of characters. You have the Japanese samurai, kind of have a that American cowboy in there. So there'll be some interesting dialogue and some fun in there.
Nice. And this samurai over here.
This one right here, who's what with the little, was it Naginata, the little staff or whatever?
Yep.
Oh yeah, this is just a general from the rival clan that she's fighting, and so this little battle, it's just kind of like it kind of jump starts you into the comic. So these are the first 5 pages. So you're kind of like you're kind of witnessing like the end of a small of a battle between Rusu and this other smaller clan. Um, and he's kind of, he's like the cornered. I guess what would you say? He's like a cornered animal, the last general there, and he's slicing up a couple of Rusu men in the background, and now he's like kind of waiting for Asami there.
Yeah, he looks like he's been through some battle. Got arrows sticking out of him and everything.
Yeah.
And some nice little kind of a splash page. It's pretty
Yeah,
good.
that was just one I was having fun with, you know. I was like, wow, what can I do? You know, how much can I put on this page? But yeah, you know, it's just her running down the hill, whatever, jumps up, yeah, kind of slash at him, and then he just freaking knocks her down to the ground with the hit kind of hitting her katana and sending her flying back and you know hitting the snow kind of hard. And on the next page, bumping her head. Now, and that's just kind of to show like what I really wanted to do with her is I wanted to show that she is obviously she's a woman samurai, so she's fighting men, and she's
Right.
kind of has to rely and that's where a lot of this dialogue happens is like she's been through a lot of battles and she's one of the last of the Onibugisha samurai Furusu, and a lot of them just just died in battle because I mean you got women fighting men obviously,
Right.
so she's got to rely on her technique and thinking outside the box, and that's kind of where the cunningness, little narration at the bottom, and the ocean thousand, mountain thousand
Right.
phrase right there. But that's just kind of what I wanted to show that she's kind of has to think outside the box, do things a little bit differently, apply like a little grapple move there instead of an all out choke. She uses her sword to
Yeah.
pretty much saw his head off.
Yeah. She also got him on the Achilles to bring him
Yeah.
down. So,
Yeah, cut him down and drop him down drop him down a little bit lower so she can climb up on his back.
all right. Tough battles. Tough battles.
Mhm.
Then let's go over some of your uh, tiers here. You have uh, you have a $20 tier. It's just a comic book.
Yeah.
Yep.
We
You
got
got
the
a
comic book, plus shipping. It's just issue number 1 and all the physical books will be signed. So
nice.
that's the standard one. I originally I just had that book and the digital copy, and then at people's request I was adding a perk. So if someone has a request and it makes sense, I would just add it as a perk, especially if it's something that they wanted. So we have
Right.
the issue number 1, $20, the digital copy at 15,
Theme.
and 2 copies for 35, so you get a discount on one of them. International shipping issue, so it's and that one's a little funky one. People were asking for some international shipping, and to be honest, I'm like afraid of international shipping because at that
Right.
$5,000 goal, and that's what I was trying to let people know, just be as transparent as possible. That is like all cost. Like I'm not making like any money off of $5,000 at all. And if anything, I might actually been in the red because of Indiegogo fees and whatever else that I'm not smart enough to think about in the future. But so I added that and I'm like, okay, these people want it, so I'm gonna give you. If you click on it, it says issue 1. You're
Yeah.
gonna
See
get,
it.
yeah, you're gonna get the digital copy, and then you're gonna get and then like the shipping's like $15, I think. So I don't
Right.
something like that. I'm not sure what the exact total. I think it added up to be maybe I can't remember exactly. I feel like it adds up to be either 45 or $50. I'm not sure. I have to check, but I put that there, and if people really want it, they'll get it. I'm not trying to like steal money with shipping or anything like that, but I have to protect myself as well. So we'll see what happens when it comes down to shipping. I'm still not entirely sure. It's worldwide, so some shipping is going to be more expensive than others, and that's the problem with this whole Indiegogo thing. Is that I think you can only put like a flat rate, so that applies to everybody.
Right.
So that's where it comes in. I think I've seen some people kind of a little bit upset on Twitter when they got some issues from other Indiegogo campaigns where they saw the shipping price. Um,
right.
but but that's just that's just the way it is right now. We got to protect ourselves and and be as fair as possible.
And you got the $50 honorable Vassal package.
Hmm.
That includes special thanks in issue 1, digital copy, and issue number 1.
Hmm. So that gets your name in the book, and I think it's a pretty special thing. That was a contributor emailed me about that. He's like, can you add this? And I was like, sure, why not? And it's a special thing. Like, you're contributing to this, you're helping fund this, and if you're a contributor, you're making this book happen. So you're essentially you're an investor. You're investing in this project. You're investing in this brand title. So with your name in the book, to me, I feel like it's a very special thing because this is the first issue. It's gonna be like a first edition, and I'm gonna use quality material to print this, and your name's gonna be in the book, and that's just something that you're gonna have for the rest of your life. So, um, to me, it seems like a really special thing, and I'm glad that people wanted to do that. And it's cool that I could name out some contributors inside this book, and just to show that you guys all played a part in this.
So as we can tell, you're pretty close. Well, you're about 900 and some odd dollars shy of hitting the $10,000 mark.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I want to put a $10,000 goal, and if I can't think of one before I hit 10K, I'm gonna retroactively unlock a 10K goal. So I've been letting everybody know. Like I said, 5,000. That just was covering the cost, and
right,
basically with all this extra money, it's like I'm just trying to add more value. Like, I put Eric Weathers on there. We got a bookmark, and I'm gonna put a high quality bookmark in there. Um, I said that right. I said that right, right? A bookmark? Yeah.
your bookmark, you
So
said that right.
yeah, it's one of those words when you say it out loud, it sounds wrong. But yeah, so we add Eric Weathers in there. That's adding quality. You're getting somebody who's experienced with lettering, who's allowing this to flow the way it needs to flow. We're having the bookmark, so you just have some little extra that's cool. And then at the 8,000, we upgraded to the square bound book, so it's no longer the saddle stitched floppy comic. And and I'm adding quality paper in there, so on the inside, the cover and the inside pages is going to be quality paper. And I think at 10K, I'm going to add. There's something that I'm trying to make happen. I don't know if it's really going to happen. I'm having a hard time, uh, I guess, getting confirmation and stuff. But if I can, I'm going to include that, plus most likely include some more upgrading the paper, and just keep upgrading this book because I want it to be like a solid book. And when you have it, it's going to last a long time. And you're like, okay, I paid $20 for this. This feels like a good solid book. You know what I mean? It's not just like a floppy saddle stitched comic. Like, you feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah, how many pages are we talking about in this book, by the way? Oh, it says 40-page comic. Never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah. We're so the goal, and like I said, it kind of depends. Like, I'm a newbie when it comes to creating a comic. This is my first comic, so 40 pages is the goal. And we might either be a page or two over, or 40 pages, or shy, just kind of depending on the panel layout and how the story kind of presents itself when it's finally all drawn up on paper. But that's the goal. And I'm going to add a couple more pages. There's gonna be the special thanks. I think I'm gonna add some sketches and some line art. I want to add as much value to the book as possible. And but that's what we're looking at. And and it's a really good story. I'm really excited to you know to get it all drawn up and on paper. And when I get my copy, I'm probably gonna be flipping through it like every day.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you will. So let me ask you a couple of questions. You
Yeah.
mentioned the Indiegogo, the pitfalls, and the not knowing.
Hmm.
Any any advice?
Yeah. I definitely had advice if you're thinking about starting an Indiegogo campaign for a comic. There's a couple things. Um, you set a realistic fixed goal, because you have to take into account shipping, packaging. You have to take into account the printing costs, and printing costs are pretty high. So you have to look at all that. If you're going to hire a colorist, factor that all in. Factor in every expense that you can, and that, and then also factor in the Indiegogo fees, and once you count for all that, maybe give yourself a little bit of cushion, but make that your fixed goal, because um, you don't want to hurt yourself. You want to make a comic really bad. I understand that, but you also want to be realistic. And that's kind of what happens with the international shipping and everything. You just want to protect yourself and be fair as possible. So just think about all that before you start. Also, I would highly encourage, um, you know, looking into colorists and hiring a colorist to have a colored, either a colored book or like just a really like a colorist can really help your artwork. So if this is your first book, I would look into that. Like I invested a lot just up front into this comic. I hired a colorist for those first 5 pages, so I sunk a couple of $100 into that just on my own. And then I bought before I started, I bought a drawing tablet, and then a little bit after that, I bought a better drawing tablet because like I was like, okay, I could do this, and I'm gonna upgrade. So like I invested a lot into the project. I would advise everybody to invest in yourself. If you're going to ask people to invest in your project, invest into the project yourself. So make sure you have quality gear and everything that you need to draw the quality comic. And if you're going to hire a colorist, look into some colorists and get a couple pages and do some sequential artwork on your Indiegogo pages, because I see a lot of splash pages and stuff like that, or pinups. And just try to follow the same model you would if you're going to send your artwork into like a company, because these people who are going to be investing in you, you need to be able to show them some type of, uh, you need to be able to show them what you're going to be able to produce. And sequential artwork is different than pinups and stuff. So that's kind of what I would say. Just do some research on the cost of everything, invest in your comic yourself, and look into a colorist. And if you're a writer, look into an artist and see if you can work out some kind of a deal.
Right.
Hmm.
Kind of like Kenan White and and Antonio Bryce did for Brand, where they just went 50-50. I mean, I'm not
Exactly.
saying that that's the deal to make. I'm just saying, sometimes you got to do the things that you have to do. And you're right. I don't know what kind of tablet you got, but these things are expensive.
Oh yeah,
If you're looking
really.
at Cintiqs, you're looking over $1,000 easy
Hmm.
for the Cintiqs. I got I went a little bit cheaper. I got a Huion tablet,
Oh yeah.
a 22 HD. It's pretty big. It's nice.
Hmm.
It's not as it's not as professional grade as the Cintiq, but I'm not a professional artist, so to me, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And it's good
So
enough to draw some things. I've inked with it and whatnot, and I think it works great.
yeah, I think when I started those first 5 pages, I drew it on the was it XP Pen 15.6 artist,
Yeah, I know what
and
you're talking about.
it didn't even have a stand. It just laid flat. But it was actually like I actually liked that tablet a lot. It was really thin. It was really it was really thin. It was a nice tablet. And what is it? What do you call that? The parallax
Right,
was fine. Everything about it was cool. I drew the first 5 pages, no problem. The only thing that I have to say about that was the screen was a little bit textured, so
right,
it kind of wore down the nibs a little bit, but it was good. It was fine. And then I just upgrade after that. After I did that, I was like, I really wanted a Cintiq, so I got the Cintiq 22 HD.
Ooh,
And yeah. And I was like, okay, I could do this, so I went and bought one or whatever. Um, but you can get away with, those other tablets are fine, and especially after using the Cintiq versus the XP Pen. Like honestly, like I don't see too much of a difference, other than the Cintiq is like an industrial drawing tablet. It's probably going to last a long time.
right,
It's really huge and heavy, so like it's industrial grade, and it's got a lot of buttons on the side for like rotating and stuff. And the buttons, I don't know, I like the buttons a little bit better than the XP Pen, but the
right.
XP Pen works. So give
Well,
yourself.
the XP Pen got great reviews from what I read.
It's good. I know I had no complaints. The only people who were complaining about it were complaining about drivers and stuff, but I had no issues.
Yeah, when the Huion that I bought, I had to go down to the actual manufacturer site to download the drivers.
Uh-huh.
I like it though. It's like I said, it's 22-inch and it's HD as well.
Yeah.
It's got 10 buttons on the side and a slider bar for zoom in and zoom out. and it comes with two, and it came with two pins, so I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah,
But
and to be honest, there's probably minimal difference between that and the Cintiq. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the Cintiq, it's super expensive, but like I said, there's probably minimal difference. The difference is probably in longevity or something like that, in
I,
my eyes, because I
yeah,
looked at the parallax and the parallax on the Cintiq, I feel like it might be actually be worse than the XP Pen.
let me ask you a question, because I noticed that the parallax is subjective to being left-handed and right-handed as well. I'm left-handed, and I notice the parallax more when I hold the pen and I'm drawing left-handed. I can see the parallax a little bit more than when
Okay.
I move the pen to my right hand. I see the
Uh-huh.
parallax a little bit less. So are you righty or lefty?
Right.
Okay, that I was just wondering, because I kind of noticed that on my tablet. I noticed that there's like a slight parallax with the way I
Uh-huh.
hold my pen left-handed, and then out of curiosity, I just shifted it over to my right hand, and I was like, oh, okay. So, and I don't know if it's just the angle that I'm looking at when I'm drawing from one way or another, or if it's just if there's a way to maybe change and tell the tablet that you're left-handed. I don't know. I haven't found a way yet, but
Hmm.
so
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see a difference, but I do think that the parallax on this is probably like a quarter inch on
okay,
the.
so it's
Uh,
pretty big.
yeah, it's pretty big. So I noticed that, like, I think on the XP Pen it was smaller. I can't remember because I deleted the drivers and everything when I set this up, and then
Right,
I noticed the parallax, and that honestly I had a little bit of disappointment when I saw it. But, when I started drawing with it, I really like the smooth glass feel,
right,
uh, more than I don't really care too much for the texture because it wears down the nibs.
right,
And when you're drawing with on the glass, it just really it feels like a marker when you're
right.
inking. I don't actually feels like the ink is wet or something. So, like, I don't know, I like that when I'm inking. I really like inking on the Cintiq.
Okay.
But that's one thing I did notice is those two things. But dude, this thing's like built like a tank. It's huge and it's a I don't know. I wanted to invest in something. I don't know how long the XP Pen's gonna last. It was really thin. Who knows? You know.
I mean, but it's not gonna be a bad backup to have, you know?
No, no,
Uh,
it's worth it. If you want to get into digital drawing,
yeah.
I'd definitely say go check out the XP Pen and get started with that because you can do just as good of artwork on that as you can on any Cintiq. And I see all these reviews of people saying like, oh, those tablets aren't as good, this and
Mm.
that. I'm like, well, hey, they're close enough, and the price difference is like insane. So
Yeah, I got mine for 6. The Helion 22 Canvas Pro is $800 tablet.
mhm,
And Amazon puts it on flash sale every 2 or 3 months for like 6.
okay,
So I bought mine for 6. I'm not complaining.
yeah.
I'm not really a great digital artist, so I'm gonna put this warning out there to everybody.
Mhm.
Drawing on a tablet is like learning how to draw all over again.
Yeah,
It is. You got to deal with the parallax. Mine's got a texture. I like the texture because it eliminates like the brightness. Like
uh-huh,
it's not putting a strain on my eyes. So
uh-huh,
I kind of do enjoy that texture feeling a little bit. Um, and like parallax takes a while to get used to. Your your perception of the page size, because you can zoom in and out.
yeah,
You get sucked into when you zooming out, or when you zoom
yeah,
out and you make it bigger, and you can go crazy putting as much detail as you want to, and then you realize when you zoom away that it just made it look like a big glob. So you
uh-huh,
get sucked up in so much stuff. It's really, it's
yeah,
it's a learning curve. It's
yeah,
not. Go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was gonna say the issue that I was having when I first started is obviously the parallax, and then when I got the Cintiq, the freaking pin on the Cintiq is so huge that, like, you feel like you can't see where you're drawing. So after a while, I almost feel like the parallax might actually help with that a little bit, just because it distances the pin a little bit, and you can kind of see like you can see a little bit more. So I got used to that, but like you were saying, it is different. Like, to be honest, like, I haven't drawn on paper in a long time, and uh, I was playing guitar for years. So I had a huge gap in my drawing, like practicing drawing and stuff like that. So I love digital drawing because for someone like me, I can erase, I can undo as many times as possible. I could do as many layers as I need to.
Yes.
I could draw something, I can mirror it, rotate it. There's like so much that digital drawing helps somebody who's not, like you could say like a pro who's been drawing for so many years. Like it is, I would say, I wouldn't say it's a cheat, but I would say it's new technology. And just like with anything else that's new technology, you jump on board, you're going to learn how to use it, and you're going to have certain advantages, you're going to have certain disadvantages. But the advantages are so great at for someone who's, um, learning, or I don't know, it's just there's just something about it. Like I said, you can undo as many times as you want. You're never going to ruin your drawing. You can do different layers. The one thing, like you were saying, is when you zoom in, uh, like the thing that hurts the most is like when you zoom in, just trying to make your line weights consistent and stuff like that. If you zoom in too tight, like you lose the overall picture of your drawing, and maybe like that's the one thing that I'll have an issue with. I try not to zoom in too much, but with the parallax and stuff, you almost want to zoom in.
Right.
So, like with line weights, like you want to have a consistent line weight. You want this drawing. You don't want to focus so much on one little tiny detail. You want to focus on this whole drawing as a whole, how it's going to look at the end. So you want your line weights to be consistent at certain
Right.
points and stuff like that. You don't want to like zoom in so much, and you put some type of line weights that doesn't make sense to the overall drawing. I don't
I,
know if that makes sense, but
yeah, no, I know
that's.
what you're talking about. I found out, and actually, to me, the further zoomed out I am, meaning the smaller the drawing is on the tablet,
Hmm.
the easier it is for me to just throw the lines down and get that smooth line weight like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And because I noticed that when you're zoomed in, you are zoomed in, and every little and those them lines that you could just throw it once, one smooth motion when you're zoomed out. When you zoom in, now that smooth motion has become a bigger, longer smooth motion. If
Uh
you
huh.
can accomplish it. Sometimes I find that I can't. So zooming out usually helps with those broad lines that you have to make. It's
So
interesting. It really is to me. Like I'm still trying to wrap my head around the digital art thing. Sometimes I just give up and go on paper, and I like, okay, it's whatever. But I do have to make a bigger effort.
yeah,
Speaking of
yeah.
making a bigger effort, what are you using? Photoshop, Clip Studio?
I'm using Clip Studio, and
I
like I said,
find
that's
it.
another. Yeah, that's another thing about investing in yourself. So I bought Clip Studio Pro,
Yes.
and then I just they have these sales every now and then where it's like, I don't know, 50% or more off to upgrade. Uh, those jump around every once in a while, so I upgraded to the XE or EX or whatever it is.
EX. Uh huh.
Um, so I'm using Clip Studio. I love Clip Studio. I've been using that for. I had Mongo Studio before that. Um, like in 2013, I just like downloaded it and I was using it. But this time, when I started, I just first I had to figure out that Mongo Studio changed its name to Clip Studio. I was like, what the hell? But I purchased Clip Studio and then upgraded. But I love Clip Studio. I think it's perfect for comics, and it helps so much. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you want to do comics, even if you draw on paper, scan your work in, you could bring it into Clip Studio. You can set up your panels, and then you can throw your artwork in those panels and stuff like that, and manipulate it, and you can organize it digitally, but draw it traditionally. There's like so much you can do.
Yeah.
So like anybody can make a comic these days.
And that's what I'm about. That's my thought process.
Hmm.
My wife and I are thinking about buying a scanner. I
Oh
live in
yeah.
by 17, of course. You need the big scanner slash
Uh-huh.
printer. So that's the
Uh-huh.
next thing I'm gonna be looking into investing. But I bought clips. So I tried Photoshop at first,
Uh-huh.
and it's okay. It's okay. My line weights, and I noticed that it was a little bit more difficult for me to get the right lines and get the brushes and whatnot. And then I decided to buy Clip Studio um, for more reasons than one. Um,
Mhm.
One of the reasons is something that I'm going to talk to you about in a second is the fact that you can actually publish straight to uh, Kindle. from Clip Studio, especially the edition that you have. I don't know how you work that out with Kindle or whatever. So I was going to ask you that question next, since you already have it on digital.
Hmm.
After you fulfill your original Indiegogo stretch goals, and the first wave of comics, were you thinking about maybe publishing through Kindle or Comixology, since you already had the digital format and you got Clip Studio, which allows you to import those or export those into those formats? Is that something that you were thinking about later on?
To be honest, I haven't even really thought about thought that far into it. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, to be honest. That's like the I kind of got tunnel vision right now. I'm like, okay, now I got to finish this freaking comic. I got like deadlines, a certain amount of pages a week and stuff like that.
Right.
But after it's done, we'll see what happens. We'll see. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I mean, I'm not opposed to releasing it digitally, um, this way or that way, or maybe like a lower grade printing, like a saddle stitch or something like that.
Right.
Or, maybe if this is successful enough and I do the issue number two, I could sell issue number one. But we'll see what happens. I haven't really thought about that. I think my main goal here is to market this as best as I can, draw as much as I can to meet my deadlines, and then send out, if make sure that everybody gets their comic on time.
Right.
So that's just, that's where I'm at right now. That's like I already have so much to go on. Like, like we were trying to get this stream going on, and between work, this, and like streams and stuff like that, like my mind is fragged.
Yeah. No, I understand, man. I understand. I wasn't too stressed. I figured eventually we'll get you on,
Oh yeah.
and we could sit down and talk. So it's no biggie. I mean,
Yeah,
it's the way life is. I
I'm
work full
definitely,
time too, so I
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, and I'm definitely, people direct message me, and I always try to respond, and message people back and stuff. And then if someone wants to do a live stream, I'll look into it, and try to make the time for it. And I enjoy talking about this and talking to people, and trying to help out too. If
Right.
people want to start a comic and stuff, like to things to watch out for. And of course, I'm not finished yet. This is just the beginning of the journey for this book,
Right.
but I'm confident that this is going to turn out well. We got some pages already drawn up. We've got the script. We're really organized. I got a schedule. So this is going to turn out. This is going to turn out well. Once it's done, then I can kind of relax a little bit and figure out what's next. But yeah, it's a busy time.
Right. No, no, definitely, definitely. No, I was just thinking, once you get it all sorted out, another way to probably maximize your profit, maybe dropping it as a two-parter on Comixology or something
Oh yeah,
like that. Because you have 40 pages, and that's more than enough for, you know, a
okay,
regular comic. What are the regular comics now? 20 pages or something like that. Um,
yeah,
with
yeah. I'll have to.
ads.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I'll have to look in that because I don't know. I was just trying to. I guess with the 40 page count, like I was trying to make sure, yeah, for $20 that everybody gets, you get
Right.
maximize that quality,
Yeah.
maximize what people are getting. So I put in the 40 pages, and then upgrading the book and everything. But yeah, I'll look into it. I just want to make sure that I don't like alienate the people who are buying the digital copies.
Right.
So I'll have to figure something out.
Yeah.
Um,
Just a thought. Just a thought.
yeah,
I mean, but yeah, I mean, you got to do what's right for you and best for your campaign and the people that have backed you. So definitely, I understand that it's a big commitment, putting yourself out there, and you know, trying to keep the goodwill between you and the customers that are backing you up,
y-
especially in this kind of industry where, like I said, this is kind of like a grassroots slash wildfire movement.
yeah,
Where it's a grassroots movement that caught fire and has completely and totally sped up.
yeah.
And go
And
ahead.
this is like, um, part of this is like, the main thing is this is customer based uh, movement. So you're trying to look out for your customers or your contributors, In this case, there's pretty much for me, these are investors. So, that's my number one concern is making sure that they get the quality that maybe they're not even expecting the level of quality I want to give them. I just want to make sure that even if I don't make much profit off of this, I'm going to get a comic book as well at the end, and so I'm going to be extremely happy just with that alone. But that they get something that's they paid for this and they're going to get something nice, and then I want to make sure I do right by my digital the people who are buying it digital. But we'll see. We'll see what happens down the road. Um, I'll figure something out. I do know that I'm going to put like you know this is going to be a high quality book. It's gonna I'm gonna put like a first edition stamp on it and everything like that. So if this book does get released one way or another, it's not going to be the same book. Um, so I hope that helps, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll just see what the future holds.
Hopefully that the future holds something good for you, man. Because, like I said, I saw the book and I was like, this looks interesting, like the whole samurai thing, And
Hmm.
when you grew up, like I said, I'm a little bit older, so I grew up in the '80s, watching a lot of rerun, old Bruce Lee movies and all that
Hmm.
stuff. So to me, it's always been fascinating, it's kind of like the era I grew up in, So it was always fascinating. So I was like, oh wow, this looks like it's pretty cool. The art looks good, and your colorist is doing pretty good work from what I can see.
Yeah,
So
he does a good job.
so it's looking like a nice total package. I mean, no complaints here. So
Yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna say, and one thing that's cool is I felt like this is really an original idea, and to me, it's cool, and I think people are gonna be happy, when they get this because it's just something completely different, and it's not like when I say manga and anime influence, this isn't gonna look like manga and anime. I'm trying to draw in this American style, and it's an American comic book, but it just has, it's telling the story of Japanese samurai, and but it is heavily influenced by like stuff like Ninja Scroll and stuff like that. But yeah, and then there's going to be some crazy stuff that goes down. I feel like people aren't fully going to expect where the story is going to take them. Like they think it's just a samurai book, but it's more than that. So, but I don't want to spoil it. But
no, no, don't spoil it, man.
yeah, it's going to be and we're going to get as much as we can in the first 40 pages while being tasteful to the story,
Right.
but I hope we can I hope we can blow someone's mind and be like, oh shoot, man, was not expecting is this that wasn't expecting this book to be like this, but we'll see.
No, no, that'll be awesome, man. I think it'll be I'm looking forward to it. So what's your time frame? I know you probably haven't even thought about that yet. I looked at your site. What is your fulfillment time frame?
Well, the fulfillment, I think on there I put June 2019. So that was one of the what is it, the drawbacks about this campaign is I'm working full time. I got to draw this. I'm not as experienced as someone like John Malin and stuff who can probably pump out pages a little faster than I can. So I got a June 2019 date. I have a schedule to try to actually um, close, finish sooner than that. I don't know if we will finish sooner than that, but my goal is to try to send these books out before that. But we'll just see how this goes. So I try to give myself enough time, realistic time, where I can draw the pages. We can get them colored. Got to get them lettered and get them printed. And this is this isn't like my like I'm not a this is my full time job, so I'm not someone who's just like sitting down drawing comics all day, which that would be crazy. That would be fun. That'd be
Yeah.
cool. Like if I could take a couple of weeks off and just finish this book, that'd be awesome. Um, but yeah, so that's the fulfillment date is June 2019, and it's probably honestly going to be end of June. So just think about that. This book's coming for sure. So you have no worries. I'm working on it, and and we're really organized. So we're trying to get as much quality as we can into this book, and the story is cool. And there might be a little bit more story than people are used to in comic books. I'm trying not to throw too much in there, like as far as like narration and stuff. But I really want to pull people into this world.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Oh no, I was just saying. So just it's June 2019, and like I said, I'm not an industry pro, so that's the time frame I gave myself, the estimated time frame, and I want to beat that. And I'm trying to be as professional as possible. I got a whole schedule for this comic, for every page on the dates they're supposed to be finished, and if I slow down or if I mess up, it affects everybody's schedule and pushes the date out.
Right,
And so we're keeping track of this, and we're trying to be as professional as possible. We got a lot of money and a lot of people's money, and a lot of people are put this investment in here, and I want to just make sure that they get it. And the reason why I put that date, that's a realistic date. I'm not going to put like a date that was like a month or two away,
right.
and then all of a sudden I'm like super late or something like that. So I'm just trying to be respectful to the investors.
So Lord Doriel F. I hope I pronounced that right. States, or I don't know. It's not a question. He ended it with exclamation marks. So, would love a story on how the American landed in Asia.
Oh, okay. We might. I try to keep him a little mysterious. I've been keeping him mysterious throughout this campaign. Like you won't see him on the Indiegogo except for in the updates, and I just posted a picture. But his official story is that he's like an arms dealer. So
Okay.
like kind of like an arms dealer. So like in Japan, at one point in time, there was a time where there was like influence, like Western influence of or I guess you wouldn't. I don't know if you'd say Western. Well, anyways, there was foreign influence, and they were selling guns, like the old style. I guess you'd call them muskets. I don't know what the
Muskets.
correct the
Yeah.
correct term is, but they were selling those to the Japanese, and also they were bringing Christianity into Japan. So his story is he's living in the Date territory, and he's an arms dealer. So we're not going into too much detail on how he got there, where he's from. He has a United States military belt buckle on his belt, so you can kind of you can take a little here, a little there, and kind of piece his story together a little bit, but you won't know fully. And maybe we'll flesh that out as time goes on, kind of just to get build these characters up. That's what my main one of the main things that we want to do is just to build these aren't like 2D characters, like they want them to be multi-dimensional real people,
Right.
in this time period, so they have certain views that um, are closer to this time period, and they come from like Asami comes from Japan, he's coming from the United States, he has that US military belt buckle. um, so I don't know, just trying to make them real people. But
Right.
over time, maybe we'll give a little bit more story, tell his backstory, maybe one day.
Sounds good. Maybe you could do it in an ash can for a future campaign.
Oh yeah, that would be kind of cool, huh?
I'm here to I'm here to help you too, man.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea right there.
If
Uh,
if you get an issue two of Asami, maybe an ash can could come around with a backdrop, a backstory, something short and sweet, 10, 15, 20 pages, whatever,
uh-huh.
and just drop how how the Americans art, what brought him to Japan, what's it, he was, he's an arms dealer, so he had to leave the country, had to go somewhere where they can't get to him,
Uh-huh.
whatever. I don't know. I'm not trying to make your story. I'm just,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
hypothesizing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Maybe that might be something, that we can uh get into for issue number 2. And I think when we get to issue number 2, we'll probably plan that out a little better. I would like to have like most of that issue drawn before we
Yeah,
even start the campaign. That way we can have a closer date. So we'll see how this rolls out. We'll see how the reception of this book is.
right.
And like I say, contact me on Twitter, if you want to talk about it. And when we release this book, you read it, you got questions, just write me and we can talk about it and stuff. And just let me know your thoughts on how you guys either liked it or disliked it, and what you disliked about it or what you really liked about it. So that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm getting together with a friend of mine who does a lot, who is like a comic book collectionist,
Hmm.
and he has his own channel. and I've been like, if I buy two books, or I get two copies, or I get a digital and a physical,
Mhm.
I'll send them one of the copies, and I'll be like, yo, let's read it, and then let's get together and try to do reviews on his channel, since his is more like comic focus,
Yeah.
and so that might be happening soon. He's reading Iron Sights now, because I backed him in the tier where I got two copies of Iron Sights.
Okay.
And I'm sending him Blue Mamba. He should get it on Monday. So
Yeah,
hopefully we'll start doing that soon.
yeah, that sounds like a good deal right there, just reviewing these books
Mhm.
and, honestly, it needs to happen. So, people are paying these prices on here, so a good, honest reviews are always welcome, and it helps everybody. It helps the consumers. It also helps the creators, because when you're like, you got tunnel vision, you know, you're creating this book. If someone has a critique and like, hey, maybe you could do this and this differently, and you're like, oh shoot,
Right.
you know what, that would have been nice if I would have thought about that. So, I
Yeah.
always welcome that. I always welcome critiques. When I first got on John Malin's channel, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I feel like I was like, this guy's he's a comic book artist. He's going to be critiquing the crap out
Yeah.
of it. But he talked about it. He made a few suggestions on a couple of things, but he overall he really liked it, and he was impressed, and I was happy to hear his feedback on what
Right.
was good, and the little things to improve. And I was expecting it to be a lot more harsh, but he's just he's a really nice guy, and his critiques, if he critiques any of your work, that's not, you shouldn't take that as an insult. That's helpful. When
Right.
how many times are you going to have a pro, um, in your living room with you to say, hey, you can do this differently and it'll really improve your artwork or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's
No,
helpful.
I think John Malin overall is a good guy.
Oh
John
yeah.
Malin is he's doing a lot for the community, believe it or not. He takes a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
He takes a lot of his personal time to review a lot of books, and try to show love to all the indie artists.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's
And
a he's he's a great dude, and I got a lot of respect for John Malin, and he's a little character too, because he always has he's a little like a jokester, and he's freaking funny.
yeah,
But he's a no, he's really kind dude, and just to take the time out to have people on his channel and check out your book, that's a lot of work. Like just streaming in general, it's hard to
yeah,
fit in your schedule. And so I think you should be, anybody who goes on his channel should be really grateful for
yeah.
um, just to get his feedback and just to be able to go on that channel.
I just sometimes feel like John Malin, because I think someone told me he used to be in the army, and I think that he's a little gruff. Like you
Uh-huh.
can't tell like what his tone of demeanor is. You're like, okay, I don't know what's going on here.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to feel him out. Like, should I be mad at him, or what? But
Not
that's just his personality, I think.
Yeah, that's cool. That I like it. It's just it's he's a funny dude. So it's just like, and it's interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And he's a blunt, and
yeah.
that's good to have. It's nice to have people who are blunt
I
because
think that's what the word I was looking for.
yeah,
Blunt.
yeah, yeah, because a lot of people are, beat around the bush about things. They won't
Yeah,
speak their mind, and it causes a lot of issues. It's good, you know, the world would be, I think would we could benefit from a lot more people just being blunt about things. It's not about being, it's not trying to hurt your feelings or nothing like that. If he is being blunt, but it's helpful, and it it eliminates confusion.
yeah. Oh, I don't know. Did you on one of our DMs, you said you had a new splash page. Did you want to share that, or are we just
No, did I say that?
you did, but
Oh,
I don't know if you wanted to share it or not.
Oh yeah, I could share this. I was kind of just going to show this little this kind of process. I mean, this is one of the splash pages
Yeah,
that I'm working on. So let me
yeah.
just share my screen real quick and
Let me put it on you. And
see.
let me.
I'll just kind of show like, let's
Oh,
see.
here we go.
So this is the John Moses
And
um I don't know, that I put on Twitter a couple of days ago. But as you can see, um like you can just see the layers that I do. So, I just kind of drew something kind of funky and just scribbling in some lines using the big brushes and stuff like that. a little gun, little hand, and stuff like that. Just like how I'm gonna lay this out, and then from there, I just add a little bit more detail. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
adding a little bit more detail over that, trying to fix some of the problems that I was having, and after that, I just kind of drew in the gun, a little bit more detailed because I had some scribbles in there. And so I
Right.
try to do as many things like on different layers as possible sometimes. That way I can erase it and it's
I'm the
just
same way.
yeah, it's cleaner. That way, like if I draw the gun and I want to shift it, like I won't mess up his hand. So that's one of the benefits of digital
Right.
art. And utilize that if, especially if you're a new artist, utilize it. It's like playing electric guitar or using triggers on drums and stuff like that. It's new technology. It's there for a reason. Use it. And so,
Yeah.
just uh, bringing in the other revolver and then like laying down inks. And I'm sure this inking that I had, like I did this on probably multiple different layers. Like as I get started on this hat, I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is gonna look good or not, so let me add a new layer. I draw it. I was like, okay, it looks good. I'll merge it.
Right. I do the
And
same thing.
yeah, so,
Um,
just use the digital, to use it as it's a resource. Use it. You have so many tools on here. Even on Clip Studio, there's like 3D models in here. If you need
yep.
help if you need that help, just freaking use it, man. It's there for a reason. Um, you
And it's
know,
got the perspective layers, perspective grids too. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, exactly, and then it's gonna teach you, and you're gonna learn while you use that. So just do what you need to do to make a book. Like that's how I am. Like however I'm gonna draw this. If it, like this one, I just scribbled in the body or whatever. But
Right.
if I need to use like a 3D model to help me at a perspective that's weird or just something that's different, I'll kind of use that to get my proportions correct.
Right.
Um, and then from there, I'll just kind of take it in a different direction and I'll, move the arms around and stuff like that. But, just use the tools that you got. And there's no shame in using the digital tools. I'm sure
No.
there's people that will tell you there is, but people say the same things. Like when you're playing music, man, there's so much crap that people say too that are traditionalists and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with traditional because I love traditional art and like watching people draw. Like I got a lot of respect because that takes a lot of skill to be able to draw like that and not be able to control Z. But but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. But
Yes, I do.
but don't feel ashamed to being drawn digitally and to use it to its maximizing your capability by drawing on like a this digital workspace here. Like I was saying with music, electric guitar. There's a lot of things that you can do on electric guitar when you add compression and distortion and stuff like that. It makes little things a little bit easier to play, but people do it all the time. They compress vocals inside the engineering studio to make them sound better. They
Right.
trigger drums. They sample drums, and so there's so much stuff like that going on all the time. You don't realize it. Just use the tools that are available to you and draw something decent, make a comic. You know what I mean? So you're not
Right.
sitting there dreaming about it. Just do it and
Yep.
you use the tools that are available and get it done.
Definitely. Primark Sanguinius. I always mispronounce his name or her. Does Steven plan on making Asami into an ongoing series?
That's the plan. That's the plan. I'm incredibly slow at this, so I'm sorry for the the late release, but yeah, that's the plan, man. I want to have more issues because we're just tapping we're just barely tapping into this story. Like the first issue, it gets you to where we want to go, but that's really just starting John Moses and Asami's journey through Japan. So, yeah, I love to do more issues and just tell more. There's so much story to be told, to be honest, and we could really the sky's the limit because it's not just samurais, like I said, ancient aliens and stuff like that. So you can imagine where you could take this. It could uh it could go really crazy. This is like historical fiction, but if you look on Indicron, I put science fiction in there for a reason too. So this is
Right.
you know we could take it anywhere, and I'd really love to do more issues. I have the generals of Rusu that I've been drawing, so I love to have some, I guess you call like little boss fights and stuff like that. But this story would for sure eventually have an end. So if this was successful to the point where I could tell the entire story, it's gonna end. It wouldn't continue on forever. I think I could if I wanted to just keep adding stuff just because of the scale of it.
Right.
But I like to tell a story because I like the animes that have an ending,
Right.
and that's my biggest inspiration. And I want people, they read this and they like it. They like that the story had an ending, and they kind of feel good at the end, and they're like, oh, I kind of miss these people's stories. Like I miss these people, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to add like this nostalgic feel, and
Right.
we're trying to build these characters because I want you to feel for them, and miss them when they're gone. So, but yeah, to answer shortly, yes.
The short answer to all that diatribe is yes, yes.
Yeah.
The answer, no, but that makes I know. Like I said, that sounds good, and like I said, you can even do a mini series on just the cowboy himself. You know,
Uh-huh.
like once
Yeah.
you like, let's say you do 4 or 5 issues of Asami, and then you want to backtrack and just do a mini series on just how the cowboy got to where he got. You
Uh-huh.
know, and that would work too. You know, because you could really do a lot with that, especially if you have a lot of characters and different angles and different stories that are intermingling. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what direction you're going to take it and how this is going to work out. So, I'll be looking forward to it, most definitely.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a cool little journey, and I hope that I hope that people enjoy it as much as I am. And to meet some of these people would be awesome. The contributors and stuff like that, and just to talk about it a little bit, and they can ask questions about the story and maybe the plans of where we're gonna take it, and how'd you think of this? How'd you think of that? So that'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, man. And like I said, it looks. I like the art, and I like the concept. And John Moses, the cowboy with the coming in with the Japanese garb, looks pretty good too.
Yeah, that was the main thing. That's like something I had thought about in high school, and I was surprised. All these years later, it was like it was either early high school or late middle school, and all these years I felt like somebody was going to take that idea and put it in like an anime or something like that, and I don't think I ever saw it. So I was like, thank you. But yeah, he's like your Clint Eastwood in Japan, and
Yep.
like I was saying before, like you'll see some cowboys that will have like the Indian garb and stuff like that on them,
Right.
and like stuff like that. So that's the kind of thought process. Like, he's got this little wicker Ronin hat, some like these arm guards here for some
Right.
close quarter combat. Um, I'm planning on giving him a repeating rifle and a shotgun, and also there's plans. I'm thinking I might give him a tomahawk. I'm not sure, but
Hmm.
we'll see. Maybe just like a little tomahawk he can throw at somebody, but while he's
Right.
shooting somebody else. But we'll see. I kind of want to make him like really kitted out and
Right.
um, have a bunch of cool stuff.
So Primarch Sanguinius, he says, can you tell us more about the villains of the story and their personalities?
Okay. Let's see. For this first issue, it's got a kind of a weird little arc, but I'll say this, that I guess some of the villains in this first issue, you get like a you get little sneak peek at them, and there's going to be a couple scenes with them in there, like the daimyo and stuff like that. Um, but it's hard to explain. It's a little bit more it's deeper than them just being bad guys. You know what I'm saying? They have this deity who they believe as pretty much God. You know what I mean? So, and that person's calling the shots. So they're following that. They're kind of brainwashed. Part of the story includes after the battles, they bring back the bodies of the dead to uh, to this underground, the subfloor of the castle, and they pretty much feed the bodies to what this thing. It's the peach tree. We call it the peach tree, and the peach tree will absorb the bodies, feed the deity, and also feed the fruits of the peach tree, which create the children of Rusu. Um, which kind of like it creates more stories for or more soldiers for her army. So, they're these people they're just samurais, but they believe that they're following God's orders and stuff. Um, The deity, I would say, is more of like, you know, I kind of want to make her like, well, she's a female, like a motherly type figure.
Right.
But I'm trying not to show too much of her intentions. But basically, she's stuck on Earth, unable to leave, and this is just the technology is kind of like this biotechnology and stuff, and that's how we get the children of Rusu, and she's being fed from the peach tree, and the peach tree has a huge significance, and so does she. And a lot of this, the generals and the peach tree and her are tied to Japanese lore and stuff like that. So we're doing a lot of research and a lot of research in creating these characters. But it's not so black and white. There's a lot of gray areas, and Japan was in civil war before there was a deity. So that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to make it so black and white, but that's a little insight into the characters, and mostly the story follows Asami and Kenichi and their relationship, and then bringing John Moses into it, and kind of Asami's fall from, I guess, I don't know, fall from grace, or leaving Rusu, and some other stuff in there that I don't want to give away. But it's kind of I think it's a pretty deep story, and there's a lot of character. We're building the characters up, and I like I like villains that aren't just evil, but we'll see how it plays out. I like a little bit of depth, because in life there's hardly ever black and white.
Right.
Um, when things are happening, it just depends on what side you're on.
Yeah. Yeah. You like those feelings that are complicated. That if circumstances had been different, they probably would have been the hero instead of being seen as the villain. Um,
Yeah, 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 definitely. You know what I mean? I like that. I like things are a little bit. I don't know how well we'll be able to tell that type of a story. Especially, you only get one issue, and you got to build it up and stuff like that. But that's the thought process behind it, and some of it will be, like you'll know who the bad guys are and stuff like that. But I hope that over time we can kind of build those kind of feelings, and that will make the story deeper and richer, and you'll respect the characters more, and maybe you'll even respect uh, the villains and what's going on, like on both sides, and on all sides of the war and stuff like that. So that's definitely what we're trying to do.
yeah, that those dynamics, I find that the best feelings are the ones that you can relate to. Like you'd be like,
Yeah.
man, if I was in that position, maybe that would have been me. You
Oh
know?
yeah, because that's human. That's like human psychology. Like that happens all the time, all over the world. There's some of the most evil, I guess you would say, militaries and stuff like that. Like you think, how do those people do that? But there's a lot of science behind people throwing out their moral values because of authority, or just because of fear of losing their families, or themselves being killed. So they'll do things that they don't actually want to do, but they'll do it to save their own families and stuff like that. So that's kind of how the world is. Or that, things like that have happened, like in World War II. And I was listening to Jordan Peterson when he was talking about some Polish police who became, I guess, after the Nazis conquered Poland or something. Um, they had the choice to go back to not be police, but they chose to stay as police officers. And then over time, they just started doing evil things, and it made them feel sick, but they did it anyways. You know what I mean? It's like it's a weird human thing that it's just weird. It's something to think about.
Yeah, most definitely. It's yeah. I think I've seen that video with Jordan Peterson, man. I'll follow him on YouTube, and definitely been watching a lot of his stuff. I think the guy is pretty smart.
Yeah, and it's just it's there's a there's a complexity behind it, and it's interesting, and it's good to know that, so that if you're ever in that situation, hopefully people will choose the moral high ground, or do things differently in the future. But yeah, it's just interesting that that happens so often. I think it happened in like South Africa as well, and other places, but it happens. It just happens all the time, where people will commit like disgusting acts and stuff like that, and they weren't technically evil people, but they did evil things, and it's just a weird dynamic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Primark makes a good point. He says the greatest villains of the world are the ones that are 100% convinced in their own righteousness.
Hmm. That's true, and
Okay.
I think I think that that's human nature. That um, that people really do believe that they were doing the right thing. But yeah, that's something cool. Like for instance, I'm not a like huge into superheroes too much. I like the artwork and stuff of the early '90s comics and stuff. But
Right.
somebody when I grew up watching like the cartoons of X-Men and stuff, I always liked Magneto, and I think that's kind of like that's part of what made Magneto really cool. Is he wasn't just just an evil person really, but kind of like he has this he's trying to do something. He thinks he's doing something right. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. History is definitely full of people who think they were doing things for the greater good that actually turned out to be pretty horrific. So
Exactly.
it's just one of those things when people are convinced that the only right way to do things is their way. Excuse me.
Hmm.
It can become pretty crazy, pretty crazy. Um,
Hey, you always got to watch out for the greater good. When I think that's what 19 or George Orwell's 1986. The greater
right,
good. When they're always saying it's for the greater good, for the greater good. Um, that'll get you in trouble quick.
indeed. Well, Stephen, I know it's Sunday afternoon, and you probably want to spend time with your family. Um, so, unless you have anything else that you want to add, or anybody on the chat wants to ask any questions, I think we're just gonna go ahead and wrap it up. If you
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah. No problem. That's no problem. I guess the only thing I would say is, hit me up on Twitter, and if you want to talk, and if you got some comic book ideas, invest in yourself, and um, just get started. You know what I mean? Start
yeah,
drawing, and
indeed.
yeah, get the programs, do whatever you need to do. Digital, if you want to draw traditionally, you can scan them in, and you can kind of manipulate it digitally and stuff like that. Just get started, and don't feel if you have an unsuccessful campaign at first or something like that. Don't let it crush you. You know, just keep going, and if you need to tweak some things, or update it a little bit, just keep working on it and stay dedicated and motivated and stuff like that. And,
Okay,
if yeah, no problem.
I'm sorry. Like, it's kind of along the lines of what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
Primate Sanguinian says, final question: what advice would you give someone that is trying to learn how to draw? From
Oh
my
yeah.
perspective, and then I'll let Steven talk. Is actually doing some stuff. From my perspective, is practice every day. I try to draw 1 to 2 hours a day if I can, and I'm still a long ways from being, what I would consider comic book material worthy. Um, there's plenty of YouTube videos. Learn human form. Practice human form. The Loomis method for drawing faces and heads is actually pretty decent. It takes a little bit longer, but once you get the idea where everything goes, it'll speed up a lot faster. And
Yeah.
try to do sketches or figure drawings of people in action, not a detailed drawing of every muscle fiber, but just shapes of what the action looks like, and then you can later add the details and whatnot. Those are the things that I'm doing, but I'm not publishing a comic book, so I'll let Steven take it away.
Oh yeah. exactly what you said. You know, practice is the best um, advice, and if you can, practice drawing, and you're able to draw things just straight onto paper with minimal setup, your drawings become more loose and then they become more realistic looking because they imply motion. And like you're saying, when you're drawing action and stuff like that, that's really helpful to imply motion by being loose. And when you draw things that aren't,
Oh, we lost you. Uh, All right, we're having technical difficulties. Stephen? Yeah, we can barely hear you. It's like you went robotic on me for a second.
just it's okay now, or am I?
Yeah, he's we were having the technical difficulties. I don't know Primark. He went. He's dipping in and out. I don't know if it's my connection, his connection, or just Google Hangouts. But does that at least answer your question, sir? Hey, Profire, how you doing? I think Steven is still having technical difficulties. I
Yeah,
really. There you
listen,
are.
yeah. Can you hear me? Am I right now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm not sure what that was, but yeah, like you're saying, practice. When you practice, you can draw things a little bit more loose, yeah, as motion and stuff like that. But do whatever you need to do that helps you. You're gonna draw digitally and stuff like that. Like for instance, if I'm having trouble with hands, you can put a mirror in front of you and you can draw the hand. Or like for instance, you got a digital um, paper here, you can bring in a picture of your own hand or something like that. Bring it in and then draw your hand. It's like right there in front of you. You know what I mean? And you can manipulate it and stylize it and stuff like that. But just do what you need to do, and over time, when you're doing that and you're practicing more, you're going to get better at just doing it off of freestyling certain things and stuff like that. But just do whatever you need to do that's going to help you, and there's no pro there's no I have no issue with you using your own references and stuff like that when you need to, and to help you out with proportions. But definitely look at those drawing videos and understanding uh, the proportions of the face and where the ear starts, where the ears end, where the eyes are
Right.
placed, stuff like that, like little things like that will speed it up. But just drawing digitally, if you draw one thing that's really good, you can always duplicate it and manipulate it a little bit. So you
Yeah,
know
the good thing about drawing digital is I was talking about the Loomis method earlier. The one good thing about drawing digital is if you can make a template for your faces in different directions,
Oh
half
yeah.
tilt, three-quarter tilt, straight forward, looking up, looking down. And you can get those lined out pretty good, right? And mapped out because the Loomis method maps out everything where the eyes should go, where the nose should go, eyebrows, hairline, jawline, and where the ears go based on the dimensions. And if you get one good reference, one good head sketch of a using the Loomis method, and you just save that and you just bring it in over and over and over again. And doesn't mean you'll draw the same face. It's just a template,
Yeah, so,
to let you know where everything is at.
yeah, it's just your reference, and you can, like you said, I do the same thing with the Sami's face because I want her to look as consistent as possible, and and um and then you can update a little bit. You can change the eyes and the eyebrows,
Yeah, definitely.
and change the mouth, and even change the face structure slightly on depending on the mouth and stuff like that. But that's extremely helpful, especially if you're just getting started. And I would say just do what you got to do to put your work on paper. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, when it's all said and done and it's colored and it looks great, like that's all that matters in my opinion. And the more you do that, it's gonna influence. Like you're gonna see if something that you drew that's really nice, and you're like, hey, that looks really good. I'm gonna keep drawing. You're gonna spend a little bit more time. You're gonna get better over time and stuff like that. So I just apply it the same way how I do work. How I play music and how I would record music. I use the same mindset on how I do this. So you know, references can help you a lot, and but also don't be afraid to try to learn. Um, why things are the way they are, so that you can be a little bit more loose and you can apply motion and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got like one of my sketch pack. It's got like 15 arms on it. Like all I did was just draw an arm 15 times, in different motions, like straight
Uh-huh.
down, flexed, from the tricep view, from the bicep view, from the side view, from a tilted view with the forearm twisting.
Uh-huh.
And that's all I did on that sheet. All I did was arms, and everybody looking at me like, "Why are you just drawing arms?" I said, "Because you got to learn how to draw arms. You gotta learn
Uh-huh.
how to draw legs. Once I can get all those pieces, then I can they're just pieces of a puzzle, and then you can put them together.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And in practice, it makes perfect. And my main practice is when I'm drawing this comic. You know what I mean? Because it's like I have no time anymore to uh, draw some pinups or draw little things that I want to draw. Um, that for practice. So I just try to put as much detail into these pages as I can and do something a little bit different. And like I say, I can always erase it or Control Z and figure it out and make it until it looks good, until it looks right in my eyes. But yeah, if you're gonna draw digitally, there's a lot of advantages. When you draw traditionally, like you kind of have to do, you know, that's just pretty much practice at that point, unless you got some light tables and you can do
Yeah, I was
stuff
about
like.
to say that if you're gonna be a traditional artist, invest in a light table. Invest in a decent sized one. I have one, but it's not 11 by 17, so
Yeah,
I can only do portions at a time. It's pretty big. I think it's like 11 by 14 as opposed to 11 by 17, which is what I would really need. But it works great. And it wasn't that expensive. I went with the Helion as well. I just been buying their brand stuff because it's cheaper, but it works.
yeah, and
Um,
and it's funny. It's like we're talking about like that's why I feel like people would you know, when you're drawing digitally, you're just using whatever you can to create that final product. So I got no problem with that. But even in the past, when people were drawing traditionally, they're using the light tables and then they're going and getting and scans and cutting out that face or whatever and redrawing it like on a different body. Like they were doing stuff like that all the time. So there's a billion different ways to help you draw in today's world with digital drawing. There's so much useful stuff like in Clip Studio that could help you learn
yes.
proportions of the body, like the 3D models. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Like
The three.
you could just use that, just that alone, to try to place out a body, and then just help you get set up, that way. And then you can start adding all the stuff on top of it and changing it and stylizing it and stuff like that. But it's a helpful resource, and I
Yep.
think all that stuff is helpful. And in the end of the day, you're going to be creating something that's, looks really good. And
Indeed.
over time, you're going to get better. So
Yeah. And that's the thing, Primark. The muscle memory. That's what my friend is trying to get me to get into. The continuous drawing and continuous drawing, even if it looks like crap, just continuously drawing and drawing and drawing. It brings that muscle memory out. And once the muscle memory is ingrained, and you say, okay, I'm going to draw an arm this way, even if you don't have a reference because you've drawn it so much, it'll kind of come to you. And then of course, it doesn't mean that you're never going to use references. People use references all the time. And I have I forgot what it's called, but just like a miniature mannequin, one of those drawing figures.
oh yeah.
I got one of those on my desk, and this one is like fully pulsable. It's an action figure. It's fully pulsable and it's got a stand, so I can make it look like he's jumping. I can make him look like he's running, throwing a punch, walking. And then of course you could just look at it and you can rotate it and then you could draw from different angles and you can get that camera view
Yeah. and
just that
and
way.
and you could take a picture of that if you wanted to, bring it in, and then you could use that as like the skeleton for a body or something like that.
Yeah,
And so there's just like a million tools, regardless of your skill level, that can help you like draw like a comic or draw like a pinup or something like that. And
indeed.
you have infinite amount of layers, so you can just keep working at it and keep working on that. And we live in 2018, so use all the
For a
tools
few
we
more
have.
months.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll be in 2019 soon. So just use all the tools that are available to you to create, awesome looking art. And You know,
Yeah, indeed.
just yeah, you don't have to just draw them pencil and paper. You can scan that stuff in, or there's just a infinite number of ways, and anybody can get better. And we got YouTube, so you got drawing tutorials, inking tutorials.
Yeah, and that's another thing. If you're doing digital, just don't tell anybody. But like, I'll look at pencil work online, like
Uh-huh.
pencils, and I'll just copy the image and bring it into Clip Studio or whatever, make it into an opaque layer, and then just practice inking over that. Like,
Uh-huh.
pretend
Yeah,
like I'm inking a real pencil piece, and how would I ink it?
yeah, and I
So
know a
I've done
lot.
that before.
Yeah, I know. I think there's a lot of people who do that, and I see that on like the Facebook groups for comic art and stuff. Like people will do that with just like uh, printing out somebody's artwork in blue line or something, and then inking it traditionally, and
Right.
just stuff like that will help you. Like you'll learn how to ink, and I think what might also help people if you're just trying to learn inking is if you did that with somebody's inks, brought it in, blue lined it, and then just practice doing that. Maybe you can learn like the cross hatching and how things actually work, and maybe it'll teach you some line weights. But just try to use that as a teaching moment and
Yep.
say, okay, they're doing this, and then this line is thinner than this one. Why? Okay, I think I understand. And then over time, when you're inking your own stuff, you'll implement that same stuff, that same strategy. So it's like you can learn so much on your own in your room, and just do whatever you need to do to teach yourself.
Yeah. Well, if anybody has any more questions, if not, I gotta let this man get back to his family, and I gotta get back to mine as well. I
Mhm.
got some things I gotta do to finish out some honeydews and whatnot. And but hey, Stephen, I greatly appreciate you taking your time out, hanging out with me this Saturday. For those of you that hung out and watched the chat, watched the show, I appreciate y'all, man. Your support means more to us than you understand or realize. I hope y'all have a blessed Sunday, and I will talk to y'all later.
Awesome. I'll see you guys later.